Welcome back, everyone. This is Overwatchers. I am Garrett Weinzerl, and I am joined, as I have been for the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks now, by Mr. Patrick Beja. Patrick, welcome back. How you doing?
I am feeling good. I think we're going to have an awesome interactive, well, maybe not interactive, but communitary show with questions from the listeners, which is great.
I mean, it is interaction. We're interacting with our listeners. I mean,
Yes,
it's not,
that's true.
Yeah,
I have that, because I'm old enough, I have that stigma of the word interactive sort of being that 90s buzzword along with multimedia and information superhighway and stuff like that. So it didn't feel right to use it.
Got you.
Although, I just rebuilt my computer, so I was thrown back to the 90s when I first started doing that. So maybe that's why I'm in that zone.
Oh, that is awesome. I have never actually built my own computer. I have assisted.
Oh, it's okay. That's because you're not a real man. That's fine.
Oh man, and by a Frenchman of all people. Jeez, that just stings.
Or woman, maybe. Gender equality, which is a topic dear to my heart.
I'm glad when you're
I've been building my computers. Actually, it's not quite the 90s, but yeah, actually it is. 96 or 7 was my first one. And honestly, I think this time is the last time I do it. I did it because it was cheaper to do it like that, and I only needed the motherboard and CPU and RAM, and I'll buy a graphics card later. But it's such a pain in the ass to do. It's cheaper, you get exactly the parts you want, there are tons of advantages, and I really want something super quiet, so I buy specific parts. But at this point, all the machines are quiet enough, especially if you target that, and I'm happy it's working. I just unplugged my SSD drive from my old one, rebuilt everything, plugged it back in, and I didn't need to reinstall Windows or anything. It just worked, and it's been working fine. So
that's
very
all.
happy.
It's so great when that works out, because I have a lot of buddies who do exactly that. They build their computers, and they're almost constantly tinkering with it.
It comes with its own set of challenges. But then you get to say that you're part of the glorious PC master race, as popularized by lots of people.
Yep, I'm part of it. I just had Doghouse build it for me.
Yeah, that's the way you can cop out if you don't want to spend the time or the effort to reap the rewards of your hard work. Doghouse is probably the way you want to go.
Well, I already do a lot of hard work, and I put the money earned from that hard work into someone else building it for me. And you know what? The cable management in this thing is so much better than I could ever possibly accomplish, because on the ones I have assisted in the construction of computers, cable management is the thing that seems to elude even all of my friends who do this regularly, because the inside of theirs looks like, I don't know, a scene from John Carpenter's The Thing. So, there's that. Anywho,
we're talking about Overwatch.
Indeed, we are. If you've been listening, the last 2 episodes were hero specific. The first episode was an Overwatch overview, and today it's probably going to be our last episode for a little while, and we're going to do a mailbag episode. So we've compiled a bunch of the emails that you all sent to us, and we're gonna read them here and reply to them. So we're gonna kick it off with our first email here from listener Sarnikyle, who I recognize.
Who, by the way, I believe is the guy who corrected me on the amount of female heroes in the initial build on Twitter. So I think we can say long-time listener Sarnikyle.
Sarnikyle has been listening, I know, to my shows for a while. I've recognized this name from Twitter. I believe he goes back to the StarCast days, if I'm not mistaken. But Sarnikyle writes, "Hey fellas, I've heard Blizzard doesn't design games for esports. Rather, they let the community decide if it's worthy or not. I think this was very true in the case of Hearthstone. Do you think Overwatch is esport bound? And if so, could they be caught off guard with its popularity like they were with Hearthstone? Thanks, guys. Hope to see more of this show in the future." And I also wanted to make a note that listener Beckett sent in a very similar email referencing the obvious camera tools that we saw from the live casted BlizzCon game, and saying, hey, it kind of looks like they're already doing this. And that's actually kind of my first point to Sarna Kyle's email here, which is from what we saw at BlizzCon, it definitely looks like they already have, at the very least, a light kind of spectator toolkit built into the game, which is definitely more than Hearthstone had at launch.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't think that Blizzard doesn't, you're saying, I heard Blizzard doesn't design games for esports, rather lets the community decide if it's worthy of not or not. It was definitely the case with Hearthstone, where they were constantly reminding people when the game was exploding on Twitch that they wanted to make sure, that the community was using the game and enjoying the game in that way, because really they didn't know where the game was going to go. And it might seem obvious that it's a great spectator game now looking from here, but when it was first launched, it wasn't that obvious, at least to the people inside. However, things like StarCraft were designed, I believe, to be esports pretty much from the beginning. Maybe that's arguable with the original StarCraft.
I would
from
say,
15 years ago.
I'd say it's arguable with StarCraft 1, but StarCraft 2 had a very robust spectator client at launch, but they had.
But that was because of the legacy of StarCraft.
Exactly. They had how many years? Over a decade of experience with Brood War being the sensation in South Korea. That they had a little bit of an idea what to expect when that launched.
Yeah. I mean, in the case of Overwatch, I think it's pretty safe to assume they're at least hoping that it's going to turn into something of an esport. And the way it's most obvious is not necessarily the tools they had in the casted match at BlizzCon, but the fact that there was a casted match at all. They decided to introduce the game. And the initial communication is really important anytime you introduce a game. So they decided to introduce the game in part, maybe in small part, because it was just that casted match, but in part giving it the format of an esport casted thing. And it seems to indicate, I think, the fact that they are, aiming at least giving it the possibility of developing as an esport more than the Hearthstone team gave it when they first started. Now, the Hearthstone team was adopting that posture because they were a tiny team and they didn't have time to do everything. But here, it's looking like they've at least thought about it from the get-go. And it makes sense from my point of view, because you do want to keep these games going, and you want people to be interested you want people to keep coming back and to be interested in the game in general, and esports is a great way of achieving that. If people are interested in, the tournaments that are happening, if there are personalities that develop around the game, then it gives the game itself a longer life. And Blizzard loves games that live for a long time. They do that through different means, and games like Diablo, for example, doesn't have a big an esports component. World of Warcraft does to an extent, but it's sort of a secluded portion of the game. But yeah, that's a great way of keeping the game alive. And it seems like they're definitely including it or thinking about it from the get-go. It's a different situation from Hearthstone, it seems.
Yeah, I do think it's worth mentioning, and not like, no, you're wrong, Patrick, but Hearthstone did have a casted match as well when they announced that. But it was just
Did they have the Oh, that's right. They had the Warlock versus
Ben Brode
casted by Ben Brode initially.
He shoutcasted it.
The Fireside.
It was at PAX.
You're right. Okay, well then my whole spiel that I just did for 10 minutes just falls flat on its face.
No,
Great.
no.
Thank you, Garrett.
No,
for
it does not.
proving me wrong.
No, it does not. Because Hearthstone didn't have a spectator client. I think. I mean, part of it is just shoutcasting. It's just exciting now, and it's a good way to do a gameplay. Not a trailer, but a look at the gameplay of a game, and it's a way to. It's a more exciting way than just throwing up gameplay and just having a guy kind of being like, okay, well here we go, and he puts this card down. But if you have Ben Brode out there and he's just ha 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 ha, look at that, it's more exciting, it's more engaging, and
it's true. Yeah, you're right. Maybe I would be surprised if they didn't. Maybe because of the experience of Hearthstone and how important streaming has become to build a community, I would be surprised if they didn't include those tools from the beginning. But you're right. It wasn't the case for Hearthstone, even though there was a casted match initially.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
maybe.
And I mean, I don't know. My view of Blizzard now has changed drastically. Since Hearthstone and now even more looking at Overwatch, because I mean back in the day it was like WoW and StarCraft and Diablo and all these big box summer blockbuster type games, and Hearthstone was such a change of pace for them, and they were clearly the smallest team at Blizzard. They were experimenting a lot, and I think they were just trying to create a fun game, and esports were kind of on the back burner. So. I mean, clearly, spectator mode was just added to Hearthstone, but yeah, it definitely looks like Overwatch is going to have the tools we need to do this kind of stuff out the gate, or at least I'm hoping. So I don't know. Maybe they might strip it out because it may not be as robust as they would like it for the public. We may not see it at launch, but I have a pretty good feeling that we're going to be just fine with spectator tools for the game when it comes out. And also, if you haven't seen that casting match, they did such a darn good job at BlizzCon. The two in-house casters who did it, I thought were really good, and they got a couple laughs.
It was such a great match too.
Oh yeah. Especially there was I remember there was a point where there was this Hanzo player trying to like jump down and get behind this Reinhardt, and the Reinhardt totally swung around and saw him at the right second. He just jumps right back up the wall, and the caster was just like, oh, no, that's not going to work. And just little moments like that where just made me giggle. And I don't know, those Blizzard casters can cast more Overwatch because I enjoyed it. So anyways, I'm excited for potential esports for Overwatch, and also just out of curiosity, Patrick, I'm not sure how much esports you watch in general, but for me, I find first-person shooters so difficult to watch. So I'm hoping that Overwatch will be more spectator-friendly. Yeah,
I don't really watch a lot of esports. I think Hearthstone is the only one that I really enjoy, and even then, I'm not like sitting down watching an entire tournament pretty much ever. So I don't know. We'll see. It looked like the way they handled it in that casted match at BlizzCon was easy enough to follow that I might do that when I usually don't for other games. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
All right. Well, would you like to take the next email?
Sure. You're saying that because it's a French person.
I've just thought we could alter, but he is also French. I noticed that now.
Sébastien Alpha Ferez says, "Hi there. I'm a French shoutcaster that recently discovered your podcast. And so far, I've been really enjoying your show. I hope you keep it going when Overwatch is finally playable." The emphasis is mine. I'm trying to make it, a little bit lively. My question was about your thoughts on how do you think this game can keep people playing it? Of course, it's a Blizzard game, so they will surely find a way to nail that. But I was wondering what can be behind the fact that a lot of people can enjoy a multiplayer shooter, but not want to play it anymore after a week or so. I have my idea about this, but I would like to have your opinion on that, because nowadays I think that keeping your player base around your game is quite the challenge, especially for a multiplayer shooter. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Sébastien, and thank you for representing the French crowd on Overwatchers. I think one of the answers to this is possibly esports. as we discussed earlier, but there's, I think, a lot to be learned in games like Hearthstone and Heroes of the Storm, where there is out of game progression in both of those games. And we can only speculate, but I would be very surprised if there wasn't out of game progression in the game. So, either levels that don't necessarily give you, strong gameplay advantages, or the fact that you would get quests like you do in Heart, basically a reason to do something once a day or once a week or something like that, so that you earn, if it ends up being free to play, you earn a little bit of a bonus of in-game currency, or that would seem like the most obvious way of keeping people coming back. And if you manage to do that while also having a thriving esports community with personalities and tournaments, that's it. It just gives people, it keeps the game enough in people's minds that they're gonna want to come back and check it out every so often. So that's the obvious way I could see them doing it. There might be others, and if there are, I'm sure Blizzard is going to find them.
Yeah, so. you stole my answer. I was going to reference Heroes and the gamification of out-of-game leveling. So I'm curious. A lot of it ties into, I don't know, I feel like I could make a better guess if I knew what their monetization model was going to be for this game, and we're just not sure yet.
Yeah.
So
does it work exactly in Heroes?
Well, in Heroes, since each hero has to be purchased individually, it's not like Dota 2 where all of them are playable, and it's not like well, I'm not sure what else it's like. Any game where everything is playable, or it is like a game where you have to buy every hero. But you can buy them with real money, or you can buy them with the in-game currency, which is gold. And you earn gold from doing your daily quests, just from completing games in general. But it's at a generally slow pace. You get a big chunk when you first get in and you start leveling, but then you also have individual hero levels, which is an outside of the game leveling experience, and then you have an account level, which is also an outside of the the game.
And the individual hero levels give you access to more skills. So you start with a core skills and you learn to play that hero, and more complex skills are gated beyond the levels.
And I don't think that would work for Overwatch, because there's just not enough.
No, of course not.
Not enough.
Talents or abilities. We don't know. Maybe they're, because we I don't know. You made a pretty compelling argument a few episodes ago about the fact that when you had a specific hero in front of you in the other team, you could know exactly what their kit was. Mm-hmm. And also the fact that you can change heroes every time you die makes customization maybe a little bit unnecessary.
And the being able to swap when you die is the other reason I'm just like, I'm not sure they would go the hero's route of having to purchase every hero, because it seems like the hero swapping is a key feature of the game. So if I only own Tracer, that kind of sucks for me.
I would be gobsmacked if they didn't go, with the multiple hero purchasable thing. I'm sure you're going to get a set at the beginning, but I would be very surprised if they didn't do that. Now, if they don't go the free-to-play route, then obviously you're going to get lots of heroes, but I don't know.
We'll have to see.
Anyway, that's a different question.
Yeah, that's I know I'm kind of going off on that, but anyways, let's move on to the next email, because I'm going off on other things I have questions about. I'm just being my own question machine. Next
so much unknown about Overwatch.
I know.
So many questions unanswered.
Speculate. Our next email comes to us from Steven. And he writes, I'll make it short and sweet. Will I be able to play with my Xbox controller? Thanks. Well, I find this game deceptively transferable to a console environment.
Why deceptively?
Well, not deceptive. Well, because it seemed noticeably or purposefully omitted in any mention at BlizzCon itself. It's just like I'm looking at this
about platforms. Yeah, they basically it's PC. They've announced. I don't even think they've quite officially announced that it will be out on the PC. It seems pretty obvious since it was playable on PC, and it's Blizzard. But yeah, it would be very surprising if it didn't come out on consoles. It seems like the control scheme is very adaptable to consoles and controllers. They didn't announce platforms again. It might come out at the same time, or maybe they're designing it for PC first, and as they did with Diablo, they would look at a console port. And for Diablo, I think it was a little bit more of a different. There needed to be more adapting for Diablo than it seems they would need to do for Overwatch. It seems like it would be a pretty easy thing to port to the consoles and make feel good and feel right on the consoles. So I wouldn't be surprised if they even announced that it would come out on consoles at the same time as it would on PC. But we don't have information on this. And if it does come out on consoles, it would make sense that the controller would be supported on PC. Although on consoles, you might need some auto-targeting element to an extent, which I'm not sure, even if you plugged in an Xbox controller on your PC, the game itself would still remain the PC version. And I don't think you would have the auto-targeting to make up for the, for people who don't know, obviously on PC you have very precise controls and not so much on consoles.
Right.
So you usually have a certain amount of auto-targeting, and the targeting is more forgiving on consoles.
No, I think I want to say, and I'm not positive because I don't. When I play Call of Duty, I play it on a console. That's a couch and popcorn game for me. But I think on the PC, when you plug in your controller, I think it's coded that it turns kind of
it recognizes
the aim assist on. But
okay, maybe
maybe. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that could be coded in. It would just kind of I think be up to Blizzard.
It could be playable with just not a hack, but like you plug in your controller and it maps the controls, or you map them by yourself if you're a little bit using a third-party software or something like that. It would, again, we keep saying it wouldn't surprise me, or it would surprise me for a lot of things because we don't have a lot of information, but it wouldn't be very surprising if you could play with your Xbox controller. So,
although I have to ask, why would you on a PC? What's wrong with you, Steven? I only do that for third-person games. First-person games.
Yeah, there are. I sometimes enjoy a controller in my. You lay back a little bit. You're in your comfy chair, or you plug in your computer on the big screen TV, and then you're.
I was about to say the most I ever used a controller with what felt like my computer was like during the launch few weeks of Destiny, because I brought my PS4 just in the office because I knew I'd be playing it so much that I didn't want to steal the television from my fiance every night. So I was sitting here in front of my computer monitor playing with on my PlayStation 4. But I so seldom use my controller on my PC. But we'll see. I think this game can totally translate. So time will tell.
Should I read Liam's email?
Absolutely. I think it was pronounced Liam. Liam T says, for instance, it starts just like that. For instance, it looks like something may have been cut off, or maybe he's one of these people who love using the subject line as the first sentence, and you people drive me nuts. I'm just gonna put that out there. Let me see if I can find Liam's email real fast. This is wonderful live stuff. I'm assuming by the subject matter that it is having to do with other games folks
Well, let
could
me
play.
read the email and we'll see what happens. For instance, one of the things that made TF2 obvious parallel so good was that dedicated servers made it so easy to build a community. I guess yes, he's
Okay,
talking about dedicated
I
servers.
found it. Something was cut off at the top. He said one of the big topics we were looking forward to was speculation and trying to figure out how Blizzard will make the game work. Next sentence. For instance, one of the things that made
Okay,
TF2 obvious parallel. My bad. That was a copy paste error.
you can't even copy paste.
You know, Patrick.
All right, never mind. I'll keep reading. Dedicated servers made it so easy to build a community and regularly jump into an ongoing series of games with the same people on a regular basis. While I doubt that Blizzard will just pass out the server code so that anyone can host ongoing games and possibly edit servers, I'd like to see if guilds or clans, say, I don't know, AIE? Could keep a game going, a game or three going indefinitely, and people could just drop out, or join in as they pleased. Maybe discuss game modes in depth. How would rankings play into games? Would there be a divide between ranked and casual? That's a different topic. If currency gets earned in games to buy later heroes, how does that play into the casual and ranked nature? Should I be penalized if I just want to play with my friends like in Hearthstone? What makes an idea work for you? What ideas work for Blizzard?
It's a loaded question.
Yeah. Let's go with the first one. Dedicated servers. I don't see it happening, man. I
Neither
don't
do
see it
I.
happening.
Not with the history of Blizzard's games that are online, which is now all of them.
Yeah. It's there are a bunch of reasons for not making it happen, but yeah, suffice to say, they've spent a lot of time and energy building out the new generation of BattleNet support, and I think, like so many other, games and titles, I don't think they would allow for third-party servers. I don't think so. It doesn't mean that there won't be social features that will let you play with friends. I
Yeah,
don't
that
see how, from what we've seen, there would be a way to keep a server running and you jumping in or out of a game. It's not like you have, deathmatch or things like that can go on forever. You do have objectives in the game, and you have to have a certain amount of people. And if you have a clan or a guild or something to give you that social layer on top of your gameplay, then you can just join the thing and play with your friends whenever you want. It sort of replaces that server thing, which wouldn't quite work with the way Overwatch seems to be built.
Yeah, I mean, Blizzard has a history of really good social features. I mean, the guild system in World of Warcraft is wonderful, and when clans were finally added to Diablo, they worked really well as well. I hope I hope we get them at launch, because in StarCraft and Diablo they came so late that it kind of drove me a little nuts. Because especially in the early days of StarCraft, we had a community going. It was real pain to manage, but when they get them in, they're great, and all the tools that are in them are perfect for the game. Blizzard's very good at this. I just really hope that for Overwatch that it's there from day one. That being said, Blizzard's development cycle. Again, we talked a little bit about how Blizzard's kind of changed the way they do things, and now the development cycle is so different than it used to be. I have a feeling Overwatch will probably not have a box copy. So its development cycle is probably going to look a lot like it did for Hearthstone and like it currently is for Heroes. I feel like it's going to go into beta, and then slowly and slowly more people will trickle in and trickle in and trickle in, and then it'll just be like, they'll just flip a switch. It'll be like, hey guys, today now it's no longer technically beta, it's just out.
Yeah.
So I'm sure when we get beta access, these tools probably won't be in there. I will throw a party if they are.
Yeah, it seems it would make sense.
Yeah.
The other question was about ranked and casual play. I feel there's probably going to be a safe place, a safe space for you to try Heroes, which could be a casual mode if you don't want to get ranked on. If there is a ranked mode, I'm guessing there would be because you want to keep the sense of progression. But no, they would basically, if you allow for ranking progression to happen when you can choose your opponents, which is basically what you're saying with the casual mode aspect of it, to play against your friends. Playing with your friends is fine, but playing against your friends while also having that progression allows for Lord knows how many different types of exploiting the system, because obviously you can jump in, they let you win points, you're gaming the system like that. So no, if there is a way to play against people and your friends, it's probably only going to be unranked.
I expect it to look a lot like StarCraft and Heroes. There's probably gonna be a ladder because Blizzard builds really good and they gamify it really well, like versions of ranked ladders, and there's gonna be either leagues or numbered ranks like in Hearthstone. And then like you said, any games against your friends, or when esports naturally occur, because it's going to happen. It happens with pretty much every Blizzard game now that has, PvP tournament games. It's going to be custom games. You're going to probably have a lobby. You're going to invite everyone in. You're going to hit go, I would assume.
Yeah.
But as far as ranked play is concerned, I'm not sure. I would expect a ladder of some sort. I think the model that they're working towards for Heroes of the Storm I'm not sure if this game would have a draft mode. I don't think so, because again, the switching when you die seems to be such a key feature of the game. But I could definitely see like an unranked play where you just jump in, you go, and you're not losing or gaining a ranked points. So it's just for fun. But I can totally see a ranked mode as well.
There could be different modes. Like, for example, there could be a mode where you can't switch heroes when you die, which would be a little bit more of a hardcore, maybe not hardcore, but competitive type of game, where you would have to build your team and then that's it. You're set.
Right.
It would have to be exceedingly well balanced for that to be viable. But
yeah, when they first announced it and we saw the gameplay trailer, I assumed there wasn't switching because of my brain immediately latched on to MOBA heroes. I'm looking at MOBA heroes. We're going to have a draft system and picks and bans, and this is going to be the most interesting shooter esport ever. And then I went and tried it, and I realized I could switch heroes. I'm like, oh, well, I don't know what to believe anymore. Thank you, Blizzard.
Yeah. All right. Next email.
Yeah, I'll take it. It comes to us from Spaz Wesson, a frequent writer of a lot of the podcasts I do. Hi, Spaz. And Spaz writes, hey, Garrett and Patrick from France. I've been hearing a lot of people worrying about the out-of-game lore. And this has been done for Team Fortress 2. The Meet the series has introduced all 9 classes and even had a few spin-offs. Meet the Sandwich, which if no one has seen these, by the way, go check them out. They're amazing. He also continued to say each year TF2 has events for Halloween and Christmas, and with these comes random comics, trailers, and even full videos which show more and more of the universe. Thanks. Cool. I hope they do stuff like this for Overwatch, because the characters seem to have a lot of personality, which is something Team Fortress 2 did really well with the Meet the series.
Yeah. I mean, I hope they do more of that kind of thing and of other things. As much as I enjoyed the Meet the series, and as brilliant and funny and surprising and well done they are, the subject matter in itself is a little bit more, it's difficult to, I don't want to say generic, but the nature of it. It's like it's the scout and the demo man and the soldier, and they don't have names, they don't have backstories. It's just the interaction between all of them, which is funny and cute and quirky and all of that.
It's not building a narrative.
Yeah, like, exactly. It's building out. It's like sketches, Maybe that's a good way of describing it. It's sometimes very long, very written, scripted sketches, but it's sketches. I hope what we're seeing with Overwatch is story and narrative. And basically, I'm agreeing with you, Spaz, and I think we all are. I don't know. So I'm sure it's going to work great in the way they're alluding at they would be doing it. But at the same time, I understand the people who would like to have a single player element that would be the storytelling element in a more traditional way. I know that I'm very likely to enjoy the game, but I'm usually the kind of person that gets a new Call of Duty and does the campaign and does some multiplayer afterwards. Now, this game is all multiplayer and probably a little bit more welcoming, so I'm probably going to enjoy that part a little bit more than I do in other first-person shooters, but I would love to see a single-player element. The problem is, in order to build compelling narrative, you need to tailor it to the hero you're playing. And if they have to do that for currently just 12 heroes, and very likely a lot more than that, it would require an immense amount of work. Or what you end up with is what we find in fighting games, and you have, like, you know, the intro with some really, really bad introduction and setup, and then the conclusion.
Hold on, sir, because Mortal Kombat is the greatest story since Shakespeare, wrote something. So you are not giving it the proper, the respect it deserves.
I apologize. I'm sure.
Don't apologize to me. Apologize to Scorpion.
Scorpion, get over here. I'm sorry. There you go.
Yeah, no, and the folks in chat room are saying that they really believe that they're going to do something with like Netflix or a similar service, that we might get some kind of short animated stuff, which I would love to see. Personally, I think, and I don't know the guy personally, but from what I've seen publicly, I don't think Chris Metzen can help himself from writing stories about these characters. He seems like a guy that once he develops like a character from the ether, whatever he does, I don't know if he goes and he puts on a shaman robe and conjures up spirits or something, that they're like real, that he's clearly cares about the characters that he creates. It's really evident anytime you see this guy talk about, like the Warcraft lore. So I'm sure we're going to get a narrative from Overwatch. I really don't think it's going to show up in game, but I think it'll be entertaining and worth pursuing, whether it's comics, whether it's a Netflix series, or whatever it may be.
Well, it will show up in game in the sense that you'll see hints about it, and the settings and these things will be there in the game, and it will remind you of what you'll have seen in these other forms of narration. But we have a question in the Twitch channel. Do you want to read that one before we move on to the other emails?
Sure thing. Is this from Rulios?
Yes.
Okay, Rulios. I'm gonna choose to pronounce it that way. Says, first, thank you for your work. Appreciating every single episode. From your point of view, would the competitive metagame stay the same, such as Team Fortress 2, 4 main characters out of 9? Or would we see various team compositions such as LoL or any other MOBA? I think we're going to see heavy variation because it looks like Blizzard's going to continue to add heroes to the game.
Yeah. And if we see, so in TF2, you have 9 characters. There's going to be a lot more.
There's already
Overwatch,
12.
apparently. There's already more, but apparently there's going to be like a lot more. And I think if we only see a limited amount, like if we always see the 4 or 5 same characters, or even 7 or 8, if they end up going to 40 or 50, I think it will be. They will consider themselves that they have failed in balancing the game properly. I think they really want, it's difficult in that kind of game to have every single character balanced, but I would be surprised if less than half is competitive Well, although if you have like, let's say 40 characters, if you have 20 characters that rotate and that are powerful enough to be played competitively at the highest levels, that could probably be acceptable for that, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I
but
mean,
if it was always this, let's say, if it was always the same teams with tiny variations, I think at that point they would think, well, we need to change things and bring in a little bit more variety.
That's what I was gonna say, and without like speaking for Blizzard, what I've experienced with their games is that they hate like when something becomes the correct way to play, and they seem to attack it with reckless abandon. It's just like, oh, is this the proper way to play your warrior? Well, now it's not. Go figure it out, community. It's completely on fire. You don't know what they love, just upsetting the meta. Look at Hearthstone the last week. The game is literally on fire. Like everyone's decks are burning and sinking to the bottom of the ocean. No one knows what's going on.
I would qualify what you're saying, though. They're not doing it just to. Can I curse? In this show?
Go for it.
Okay, they're not doing it just to fuck with people. And I'm sorry for my French.
I'm glad I allowed that now, because that had the punch I wanted.
But they're definitely doing it to make sure that the game is balanced. That's exactly what it's about, right?
I wasn't trying to.
There is a correct way to play. Then it means the game is not balanced. Even if it's with just, if we're talking about the, with Hearthstone, about a specific type of deck for one class, even if that's, that becomes the only way that you're going to play your class, then that means that there is a lot of other cards and of other type of decks that are not being used. So in that way, it's not balanced. So yeah, I would be surprised if they let that kind of situation settle on Overwatch as well.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't trying to infer that they do it just to fuck with us.
Oh my God! I mean, Garrett, I'm French. I can get away with it. But coming from you.
I'm sorry, Mom and Dad.
Have to talk to your mom.
I know you don't listen to this show because you don't understand the words that are coming out of my mouth 99.9% of the time. But no, it's I like that they do that, and I was trying to say that in a positive fashion because
sure,
because it gets. I mean, in the early days, and this gets a little off topic, but let's screw it. We're having fun. We're talking about Blizzard games. In the early days of WoW, I accepted the fact that I had to treat elitist jerks like a Bible. That is like, this is decreed from down on high. This one elitist jerk went up to the mountain, came down. This is how you tank with protection paladin, and I was fine with that. But the more and more Blizzard has chipped away at it, and streamlined talents and made your three choices. It's really about you. What do you want your character to be like? I like it a lot more. It's more gamified. I feel like I have more control over the way I play the game, and there's not technically a correct way to do it, and I love that because it breathes more, I don't know, variety into the game. So I think it's a good thing. It certainly is the case in WoW and Hearthstone because, man, now is the best time to play Hearthstone. Get in there and get weird, folks. But
and
anyways.
Get your free card packs.
Yes, yeah. I'm yelling at Katie. She hasn't logged in yet. Like, she loves playing, but she goes in like spurts. She'll just be like, well, I'm going to play a lot this week, and then I'm going to stop for the entire month, and then I'm going to remember on the 30th that tomorrow's the 1st, and I need my card back and put Garrett on it. So, anyways, we got a couple emails about other games people are suggesting folks can play while we wait for Overwatch. So, you want to take the first one, Patrick?
Sure. Jacob from Miami says...
Florida represent! Sorry.
No, that's fine. Florida is cool.
You got excited with the French email, so I'm getting excited for the Florida one.
Well, you're not doing a great job at it. You could get a little bit more excited.
No, that's as far as
I'm putting you on the spot now.
No, because then it just evolves into me making jokes about Miami.
Okay, let's not do that. They're dangerous there. I've seen the movies. I've seen Dexter as well. I have been out of the loop when it comes to first-person shooter games for a while now, but Overwatch really seems to have grabbed my interest. Not only is this because Blizzard, right, that's a funny way of phrasing it. Not only is this because Blizzard, but it reminds me of the only other shooter/slash MOBA type game I ever played, Monday Night Combat, also abbreviated MNC. I'm actually really surprised that I have not heard any discussion of this game. Maybe MNC was not as popular as I thought it was. I just listened to podcast number 2 and a listener wrote in asking for a suggestion for training their mind to work with the framework required for playing Overwatch, and I think MNC would be worth looking at, though I do not know if there is still a large player base. Anyway, I enjoy the podcast greatly and would love to know if anyone else has made this connection, and if yes, what are their thoughts?
I can say that I did not make this connection because I had never heard of this game.
So, yeah.
Okay, are you on the same page?
So I had never heard about this game until I looked into Overwatch. And that connection was made a couple of times. Monday Night Combat and Super Monday Night Combat were the two games that a few people were mentioning. Not just once, there were a few times that it came up. I personally had never heard of it before again, and I'm not as there's a little bit of a dude bro American sports team like spirit and thing about it that really doesn't jive with me. It's like, obviously it's Monday Night Football and this is Monday Night Combat, and it plays on that heavily. It's like American sports, it's football, baseball, hockey, whatever, but FPS, and they have like the logo that looks kind of the same way, and like, yeah, it's not my thing.
Upon looking it up, I thought it was extremely clever. It is definitely not my cup of tea either. So to save you, Patrick, from just feeling like just a regular Frenchman who just hates things that are American, but but yeah, no, it's I think it's super clever, but it's like, I don't know, I prefer a little more either fantasy or sci-fi in my games, and clearly this is kind of, I don't know, got a little bit of a Running Man feel to it, just a hair.
It's, I mean, really the aesthetic of it are not grabbing me. If they grab you, then yeah, it's, the comparison has been made more than once, so maybe that's something you want to look into.
Yeah, I had seen it thrown around in the Overwatch Reddit a few times, so you're definitely not crazy, Jacob, and I'm sure folks could go check this out if they're not liking TF2. But
it's just that a lot of the draw of Overwatch is, as we've said many times, the heroes and the design and the little things that are fun with just the way the game is artistically designed. And it's very, very far from a MNC. So I don't think, for me, I would, even to like prepare for Overwatch, which honestly is kind of a weird concept, but go for it. But even for that, I don't think you would mechanically maybe kind of prepare for it, but I don't think personally I would enjoy that preparation as much, because that aspect of it, which is very important for me, which is the design, is completely different. So
right, and I agree too. I these emails always come up. We still get them from time to time on the Heroes of the Storm show I do. And anytime a game is in beta and there are people playing it, but not everyone can. So it's a popular question, like, what should I play to prepare? And it's always hard to answer. Like, I feel like if you've played an FPS before, you're fine. If you've never played an FPS before, I think learning to play any of them will help, obviously. You're going to get used to moving around in first-person view. Because, I don't know. Have you ever watched someone play a first-person shooter for the first time ever? Because it's kind of funny. It's never as humorous with PC as it is with a controller. Because, man, I love watching someone pick up a controller and try and play a first-person shooter for the first time. It's always hilarious, but...
Yeah, it's been a very long time. I remember I was not very good when I first started, but that was Wolfenstein 3D. So that was 20 some years ago.
Yeah, the first dual analog one I played was probably Halo, the original one.
What's your first FPS game period?
GoldenEye.
Wow, you're young.
I mean, I remember like trying out Doom, like someone, like a couple kids had like brought floppies with them and installed them on the school computers, but I never had it like at
And
my disposal.
You're like, that's old. You're
No.
old man.
Hey, no, I was very young, but
You're
it was the
8.
new hotness at the time, and I remember
You were
playing.
8, and you were like in school and going like,
I probably was 8.
I play GoldenEye.
No, I remember Wolfenstein, the original one. I'm not talking to like the recent one, but like the one I had access to and could play whenever the hell I wanted was GoldenEye.
Yeah, I know. For a lot of people, it's their first FPS and very strong memories.
Oh, you know what? No, I totally lied. It was Dark Forces.
I don't even know what that is.
It's a Star Wars first-person shooter, and it was like Doom, but Star Warsified. So my parents let me get it, and I remember having to get like, I forget, it was like we had to get more RAM, and I can't remember the amount, but it was like a minuscule amount of RAM to run this thing, and our home computer didn't have a sound card, so I beat the whole game silent. So sorry.
Nice.
Oh, how could I forget about that, man? I remember being so excited as a kid, being like, I get to be in the Star Wars world with a laser. Like, I was losing my mind as a child.
Funny.
Yeah, and yeah, no, I remember having to launch that thing from DOS, and yeah, that was hardcore.
All right, you're not that young after all.
No, I just missed the insufferable millennial bubble. Like, I just missed it. I didn't have a cell phone in high school, like none of that.
Okay.
So, anywho.
Good. So we can keep doing the show together.
Yeah.
That's
Patrick
okay.
just isn't gonna storm off. Just like, nope, I'm done. I'm leaving now. So, thank you, Jacob, for somehow spurring this walk down memory lane. I'm not even sure how we got here, but I like the destination. Anyways, let's. Our final email comes to us from Mo, and Mo writes, "Hey, Overwatchers. Love the show. You guys talked about similar games in the FPS genre. Like everyone else, I thought of TF2, but seeing more of the game, I thought of the MOBA game Smite. I played it for a while, and the first-person, third-person view got me into the gameplay more than the isometric MOBAs ever did. Other than that, the level design of Overwatch, specifically the verticality and tight spaces, reminded me of Unreal 3, oddly enough. Even the pacing and some of the gameplay reminded me of Unreal. What do you guys think?" Well, kind of like we said to Jacob, I don't think Mo is crazy. I've seen Unreal mentioned a lot from folks talking about Overwatch. I know a good friend of mine who used to play the crap out of those games saw this, and he's like, "Oh man, this is giving me the itch to play Unreal, and also I really want to play this." So it's watching to get off a little off topic. Watching the reaction to Overwatch has been really fun because I had. In me, I have a circle of friends that when we were in college, we all played WoW together, and a lot of them have fallen off of Blizzard games in general. And a good amount of them are perking up when they heard about Overwatch. They're like, "Oh, this is new from Blizzard. I totally want to play Blizzard's version of a shooter." So,
Yes,
anywho,
I agree.
did you play any Unreal back in the day, Patrick?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny how many times in this show we've started reminiscing.
It's fun.
Unreal was this. There were, there's the your computer showcase game, and there was Doom, Wolfenstein, and then Doom, and then Quake, and then Unreal came along as well. There was Descent, and yes, I played Unreal for sure. And the comparison with Smite is one that has come up quite a few times. And so for those who don't know, I guess he said it in the email, but Smite is a third person MOBA. And doesn't Jocelyn play Smite?
She plays the hell out of Smite.
Yeah.
I've played Smite. I prefer the isometric MOBAs. So that's why I don't play it a lot, but yeah, I played her a lot for about 2 months straight, and then kind of burnt myself out on it. But it's a really fun game. Imagine WoW Battlegrounds, but everything is a skill shot, even like your white damage.
Mm.
You have to land everything, but there's melee heroes, and you still have to like click like you would to fire a projectile to swing the hammer and that kind of stuff. Um, so there's some obvious parallels, especially I mean, when I saw Reinhardt, that made me think of Smite a lot.
Mm.
But I think the interesting thing that I've taken away from everyone kind of suggesting games folks should try out before they play Overwatch is that there's no game that's exactly like it or close. They have taken inspiration from many different popular PvP games. So I'm looking forward to it. And
I mean, for Hearthstone, I'm guessing, and we haven't seen a huge amount of it yet, but I'm guessing it's kind of the same as Hearthstone. You have games that are a little bit kind of like them. If you want to play Magic or I don't know. There are a few, and same for the MMOs. If you wanted to get ready, quote unquote, for WoW, you could play EverQuest or Asheron's Call. But I guess that's why I'm a little bit down on people saying, when they say, "Oh, I want to prepare," and I'm like, "Well, it's not really going to be the same thing because you could play EverQuest for a long time, and it would still not make you ready for WoW. I guess it would make you ready for the genre, kind of. Same with Magic: The Gathering." They are vastly different games, though.
I will say, having played a good amount of Magic before getting into Hearthstone, that I had to untrain my brain because I was thinking like, oh, it'll be his turn and I can assign blocker. Oh, no, I can't do anything on his turn. Wow, this is really messing with the way I play a card game. And for the longest time, I was just making bad plays because I had the Magic brain turned on, but. Yeah,
the magic brain. I was gonna say something disparaging about you still making bad plays, but then I decided I wouldn't.
Well, thank you for for still being a jerk about it. Well, I was gonna be a jerk, so I'm just gonna tell you how I was gonna be a jerk.
Yeah, but I'm not being a jerk. Yeah, so sure. I mean, the thing is, these games are free anyway. Monday Night Combat, TF2, Smite. You can just go and try them out and see what you like, see what you don't like. Maybe you're going to discover something you didn't think about and really enjoy in the end. So
maybe you'll
go nuts.
Maybe you'll disappear into Unreal 3. You'll love it so much we'll never actually see you in Overwatch.
Possibly. Unreal 3 is a little bit dated, though. It's still very cool, but...
A little bit. The other game that hasn't come up and I have seen mentioned everywhere is Tribes, which is, I think, another good parallel. There's definitely a little bit of that in there as well. But, yeah, there's no perfect answer. Nothing out there is exactly like Overwatch. And having played it, I'm confident saying that. So
yeah, indeed.
Yeah. Anywho. Sarna Kyle's in the chat room. Yes, Sarna Kyle, we answered your email. You'll have to listen to the podcast. So, anyways, I think that'll just about do it for this episode, which means we're done for a while, Patrick.
I believe we are, yeah. I mean, we've definitely felt it with the over the past month or so since the end of BlizzCon. There's no new information, so I don't think it makes sense to keep the show going until there is new information. But I'm very confident saying that we will be coming back. I don't know how regularly it will be, but I'm sure we'll come back and discuss the new things. And I'm sure there's going to be a ton of new and super exciting things that we're going to find out when we get new information, because keep in mind, we've only seen the tiniest of portions of the game, I think, from now. And it was just, 3 maps, 2 modes, 12 heroes, and that's it. And for us, that constitutes the entirety of what we know of the game. So we're making, estimations and judgments and all of that through that filter. But I'm sure that when the game approaches beta, we're going to have a lot more information, and we're going to find even more super exciting things. I remember when Hearthstone was just introduced, it was introduced with only basic cards. There were no expert cards for the initial play sessions at the at PAX in 2013. No expert card at all, and still the game was super exciting to the people who played it. So that's the way I'm hoping it's going to turn out. And already I would be very happy to find out, to play the game we've seen. But I'm sure there's going to be tons of other stuff, not just heroes, but maybe other modes, maybe other the progression system, which we've talked about in this show. Tons of additional little systems that are going to make this even more exciting. And I'm telling you, robot, sword wielding ninja dude, badass cowboy, tons of potential additional characters that we've had a glimpse at that I can't wait to find out more about and play. And when it comes back, I'm sure it's going to be super exciting again. So
yeah, no, I'm absolutely on the same page. I would, if I could venture a guess, I feel like we will probably have a new episode shortly before beta, because I feel like right before beta hits, Blizzard tends to just like shoot a cannon of information at us. So not us specifically, the community.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sure there's going to be, oh, I'm so excited now. Now now we're done. I think we've wrapped up a pretty cool, especially in the first 3 episodes, like a summary of everything that we know, maybe a little bit general information, but everything we know about the game so far. And now that's done. And now we can look forward to what's going to be coming in a few months. Hopefully not too long. Please, Blizzard.
Yeah, I hope, because otherwise,
like let's make it first half of 2015, not like December 20th.
Don't say first half, because then they're going to push it to literal middle point. Like first 3 months. Let's get it out.
Right. Let's be hopeful
before the end of March,
let's
Blizz.
Aim
Come on.
for first quarter. Seems like a reasonable thing.
Bring it.
And now we can look forward to what's going to be happening then. And that is honestly my eyes are lighting up now, trying to imagine what's going to come, and I'm super excited. Excited.
And other than that, you can Pat, we're just going to meet every Thursday still and just talk about the past of video gaming, right? We're just going to talk about old computers and you're
how do you build a computer? What was the first game you ever played?
We'll do a spoiler cast for Dark Forces, since apparently you don't even know what it is. We'll go find a playable version somehow. We'll be like, man, can you believe the twist in the story when that garbage monster popped up and you had to shoot it? It was amazing. It's amazing.
We just won't publish that.
Exactly. So, anyways, thanks everyone for coming on this ride with us. We'll definitely, there'll be more episodes. It'll happen.
Yeah.
Anywho, in the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter at OverwatchCast, because somebody out there took everything with Overwatchers in it. You mean people, you. You can email us at mailoverwatchers@gmail.com, AMAIL overwatchers@gmail.com. You can subscribe to us on iTunes. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/StarcastShow. And yeah, that's more or less it. Want to thank everyone who's leaving us reviews on iTunes. We have a few new ones, so thank you very much to For Science.
Science.
Yeah, thank you to Sarnikyle, who also sent in an email today.
Sarnikyle.
And Mr. B.T. Hoven is how I'm going to choose to pronounce that one.
Mr. B.T. Hoven.
Thank you, Patrick.
I think we should do all of our thanks that way.
For the mad scientist Echo.
Yes. You're welcome. Are we going to read their reviews or just thank them?
Nah, I usually just thank them unless it's absurdly humorous.
Okay.
I even mentioned I mentioned a 1-star review one time on The Angry Chicken, because they wrote Enrage plus 4 stars, and I was like, I can't be mad at you for tanking our rating, because that's just so damn clever. So don't do that, because there's not a lot of reviews for this new show yet, so I'd appreciate it if you didn't make a joke 1-star review. But nonetheless, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for supporting the show. We really appreciate it, guys. And Patrick, where can folks find you while they're waiting for your triumphant return to the world of Overwatch speculation?
So you can find me at on Twitter. I'm not Patrick on Twitter. It's very easy to remember. Or you can go to FrenchSpin.com, which is the show where I host the site where I host the shows I produce. There are a couple. One of them is about. It's about, I can't remember if I talked about this show on Overwatchers yet, but it's called the Phileas Club, and I get people from different countries around the world, different backgrounds, different cultures, to discuss the news from the past month, and you get a very different kind of opinion and discussion about topics that we've heard about quite a bit, but in our own media. So it's a more serious kind of show, but I really enjoy it. And it's also super fun. We get it's a get together between friends. So I hope you give it a try and you enjoy it. And the other show, which apparently people are liking in the chat room, in the Twitch chat room, is called Pixels. Pixels is a show about video games in general. It's a bi-monthly show, so the next one will be about we'll discuss the video game awards and the PlayStation experience. The previous one had Veronica Belmont and Brecky Thomason in it, and we tried to take a slightly more analytical view of video game news. We don't do like reviews or anything like that. We don't just say, hey, I played that game, it was cool. We actually discuss the news about video games, and I think that's something that is, as our industry grows and our gamers, our players grow, it's something that I think is going to be interesting to everyone. So yeah, it's called Pixels, and thank you Spaz, Wesson, and the Sorn for saying you like it on the Twitch chat. And you can find both of those shows on FrenchSpin.com, and that is, I think, the longest plug in history in any show that anyone has ever done. So thank you, Garrett, for allowing me to do it.
It's only because I actually really like Pixels. So
thank you.
You're allowed to do that. I mean, your other shows are just garbage. No. Just messing with you. Did you even mention the fact that you're on the instance? I'm sure everyone listening knows, but you can also find Patrick on.
I didn't, but since you threw me that thing, I'm on the instance, which is a show about World of Warcraft, and it's a really fun show.
I was going to intro it as you are now a host on the podcast that is solely responsible for me even finding out what podcasts were.
Well, I take that as a compliment for Scott Johnson. And I'm also on the Daily Tech News Show with Tom Merritt, which is a daily tech news show where I appear on a weekly basis. I don't do every day, but I'm there as well. I'm a regular contributor is my, I think, official title. So you can listen to that too if you like tech news. It's DTNS, Daily Tech News Show.
Awesome. Go check that out. DTNS is another, I get asked a lot what podcasts I listen to, and DTNS is one I have to get like every day. It's like one of the things that helps me just kind of get started. It's my podcast coffee. Anyway, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter at Garrett Art. Again, 2 R's and 2 T's in Garrett, not in art. And you can go to amove.tv. It's amove.tv, where you can find literally every podcast I do. Starcast, Angry Chicken, Heroes of the Storm. I do a lot of shows about Blizzard games. If you're like, man, there's just not enough of this goofy guy with the stupid hair talking about Blizzard in my ears, there's plenty more. So go check him out. It's a very exciting time right now to be a Blizzard fan. A lot of stuff to talk about. Unfortunately, Patrick is on the World of Warcraft podcast, so you don't have to. So I don't have a World of Warcraft podcast. But yeah, you can go find all that stuff there. I'm also, in my daily life, a freelance graphic designer. So go check out nomoonart.com for my graphic design portfolio, which I really need to update because I finally got the release to put some new work up there from a client. But still, go check it out. If you need a graphic designer, you can contact me with the contact form over there. And really, that's I think that's about all the places you can find me, unless you're standing in my window, hiding in my hedges, which is creepy. So Anywho, everyone,
Don't do that.
thanks again, everyone. Hopefully we'll be back soon. This show has been stupid fun, and also I got to fulfill a goal, which was doing a show with Patrick Beja. So,
thank you.
It's been a good time. So, anyways.
Thanks. It was really fun. I mean, I've been listening to the Angry Chicken for a long time, and I really thought the show was going to be, as you described it, stupid and fun, and we managed to complete both of those goals. So thanks so much for having me, and we'll be back for sure.
Awesome.
For science.
Good luck and have fun, everyone.